How's everybody doing today? Today I just wanted to do an intro video, a little bit on Excel, how to get in, how to get around, just a little bit about what it is. I've got my Excel icon on my desktop, so I'm going to double click on it. Brings up Excel. Since I've already been in, it shows me some of my recent workbooks that I've done. I want to open a new Excel worksheet, so I'm going to go here, open other workbook, and then I'm just going to specify I want a new one, and I would like this one, which is just a blank worksheet. So I'm into Excel now. In Excel, everything is cell based. For example, right now I'm in this cell. It's column 1, row A, so that cell is referred to as A1. If I move over here, I'm in B1, C1, C2, C3, and so on. You always see the column highlighted and the row highlighted of whatever cell you're in. A couple other things I just wanted to point out to you. When you enter data into Excel, what happens is you type it. For example, the first homework assignment you have to do involves a budget. So I'm just going to type in Chris Ford's budget. So I type it in, I see it up here. This is actually referred to as my formula bar. I hit enter, and it has entered it into cell A1. Now, even though it spills over into cell B1 and C1, the actual text is technically just in cell A1. If I want to, I can go down now and start to enter some other items. So let's say I'd like my budget to be January, February. What happens now, if you're typing information into these cells, you can just type in, for example, FEB and then hit the Enter key. That'll move you down. The other thing you can do, if you'd like instead, if I type in, for example, March, I can hit my right arrow key. It moves me over. Either way, I'll be getting information into the cells. What I want to do is I want to have 4 months of my budget information. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight these cells, and I decide I want these to be right justified because I know my numbers are going to be right justified, so I want everything to line up. So I'm just going to go up here. I see this is align left, this is center, this is right, align right. So I do that. I'm like, all right, that's nice. I can also say, hey, I want these in bold. Maybe I want them in a different color. You know, all the kind of foofy stuff that we can do in Word, we can also do in Excel. Now I'm going to say, all right, what are my expenses? Well, let's see. I've got food. That's a big one. I've got internet. I've got cell phone. And let's see, I've got rent. Maybe those are some of your expenses. Now yours are going to be different, and that's okay. Maybe if I want, I can even widen this column up a little bit. Whenever you want to widen or narrow a column, a single column, the easiest way is just, you need to go up where it's the AB, and I notice my cursor does change. It goes from a little down arrow to kind of a cross with an arrow on the left and the right side. If I click now and I drag, I can widen this column out, which is kind of nice. So now I'm just going to enter some numbers. So there's my food budget. My internet budget pretty much stays the same. So I'm going to enter 112 all the way across. Again, my cell phone one pretty much stays the same. And my rent one. That stays the same as well. So this is what I've got so far. A couple other things I did want to show you. I talked about aligning these to the right so they lined up with the numbers. Sometimes what you'll want to do is maybe take a title and maybe you want to center it across this span here. One mistake people make is they'll say, all right, I want this cell and I want it centered. What happens is it really doesn't do much. It tries to center it inside the cell, and it can't because the text is wider than the cell. I'm going to put this back to where it was, left justified. What I really want to do is I want to center this across cells. So I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to highlight these cells. This is the area where I'd like to center it across, and then I can use this little icon, which is called Merge and Center. So what it does is it merges these cells and it centers my item. And I can say I want this now bolded, maybe I want it in a slightly bigger font, things like that. The other thing I wanted to talk about next is inserting rows or columns. Let's say maybe I want to insert a row here. I'm going to click on the actual number for the row. Notice if you click on the number for the row, it highlights the entire row. Once you've got that highlighted, you can right click and you can go to insert, and it will insert a row. You can do the same thing with a column, but you've got to click on the letter. So I click on the letter, I right click now, I insert, and it inserted a column for me. Later on, if you decide, hey, I didn't really need that, I want to get rid of that, I right click and I can hit delete. But you do have to be clicked on the entire row. If you just do something like this, it's not the same. Make sure you click over here to get the row, over here to get the column. Alright, what I wanted to talk about next is a little bit on cell formatting. A lot of times in a homework assignment I will ask you to format numbers to a particular format. Excel offers us several ways to do this. I find the easiest way for me is I highlight the group of cells I want included, I right click, I go to Format Cells, and I see I've got all kinds of options here. I've got General, which pretty much just leaves the number alone. Number does not add anything like dollar signs, but it does let you specify decimals. Currency here is the one we use most of the time. Default decimal place is 2, so I'll say, all right, currency 2 decimal, that's what I want. So kind of real quick. Another thing I just wanted to talk about next is sheets. Sometimes we'll have homework and I'll ask you to turn in, 2 or 3 sheets, but it makes it a whole lot easier if you use the same file. So I've got a sheet here. It's called Sheet Run 1 right now. If I right click on it, I can rename it. I can say that's my budget sheet. Maybe I've got a second part to this homework. If I want to add a sheet, all I need to do is click on this little plus sign. Maybe this particular one I would like to call Cow Best. One of your upcoming homework assignments is named Cow Best. So now I can go back and forth. A sheet is just a different place for you to store information, but it's all going to be within the same file. So if I go up here and I do a File, Save As, and I say, okay, I want this to go to my computer and my desktop, and I want to call it, maybe this is your Homework 1. So I'm just going to call it Homework 1, and I save it. What happens is this file is now saved, but the budget information is part of that file, and the Cow Best information is also part of that file. A couple other things I just wanted to mention in this video. I talked about column width, and if you're just going to do one column, I do recommend just to click between the 2 letters and drag. Sometimes we want to widen several columns, so to do several at once, assuming you want them all to be the same width, you can highlight the columns you want, and I'm up here on the ABC, and then I right click, I go down here to column width, and I specify. Right now these are 8.11, so maybe I want to make them 10, so that makes all of these width 10. Another thing you can play with, if you'd like, is you can play with row height. So I highlighted some rows here, I right click, I can go to row height. Right now it is my row height set at 14.4. My font is 11, so for your row height, you're never going to want to go under your font. If I made it this 10, for example, it would kind of scrunch everything up. But let's say I just wanted to make this a little bit tighter, so I'll try 12, and I notice, all right, so that made it a little bit tighter. Sometimes you got a worksheet, it's like a page and just a tiny bit over a page, and you're thinking, geez, I really want to fit this on a page, so you can play around with row height. Anyhow, that's pretty much most of what I wanted to show you. If you do want to print, you can click on this file option and go to print. This one, if you want to do a quick save, you can hit here to save. But hopefully this gave you kind of an intro basics, how to get around, how to do that first homework assignment. Hopefully it was helpful. We'll see you next time.